Okay. Good morning. It's Monday. Again. Our fourth week in amongst these walls and our third week here on YouTube. Boy, fun, huh? Yeah, so, a lot has been happening. I am just not really, after 3 weeks of this, I'm still not really good at talking. So, it was a weekend full of coronavirus news, and the one thing that I keep hearing over and over and over is people saying how once this is over, it's going to change us. We're going to be better. We're going to think more about the other guy. We're going to take care of the planet. We're going to take care of ourselves. Okay, this is all bullshit. And you know this is bullshit. Every time same things are said, nothing happens, nothing changes. It's bullshit. Change comes slowly. Very, very slowly. Things aren't gonna be better and different after all this happens. There's just going to be fewer of us. Okay? Let's get that out of the way right away. So, it was a long weekend. This was a long weekend. Vicky and I didn't spend the whole time together as we'd been doing. The cracks are starting to show. But we were cool. We just kind of did our own thing this weekend. I stayed down here, watched MST3K, played Children of Morta and Animal Crossing on the Switch. And Vicky was upstairs watching reruns of Little House on the Prairie and Below Deck, a show that is so regrettable. I'm not even going to go any further into that. So I had a lot of time to think this weekend because I spent a lot of time on my own. By the way, in case you're wondering, yes, of course I have my coffee. What kind of person would I be if I didn't have my coffee? Well, I'd be a thirsty person. That's what I'd be. A very thirsty person. Anyway. So I had a lot of time to think. And one of the things I thought about was a note that I had left you with last week when I talked to you about my life as a writer and my history as a writer. Well, I talked to you about that because I had mentioned the possibility of reading to you from a book that has not been published. A book that I think there's a good kernel, I think there's a good core, I think in its guts it's a good book. It has good bones. But it's not a book that I am excited about getting out just yet. So I thought I'd read it and work out some of the kinks with you. However, that's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take time to print it all up. And the downside to that is that I've completely run out of things to talk to you about. I am that uninteresting of a person. Maybe it's because there's so many things I don't want to talk about. So many things I think you would not find interesting. So many things I'm sure you think are not at all interesting. So I have been pushing things to the side for 3 weeks now. I come up with an idea in my head, and my ego dystonic other self up there telling you so much more makes sense now that I know about that, just kicks it out, says that is not a good idea, you don't want to do that, what are you kidding me? And so I don't, and it kind of kneecaps me. I'm kind of kneecapping myself because here I am talking to you, and at the same time in my head thinking, don't tell them that. So I don't. And as I mentioned last week, the things that are most interesting to me, such as politics, are the things that that I have forsworn speaking of in the interests of of a genial conversation. So I'm not talking about Trump. And as I'm sure you've come to understand, that's killing me. But, you know, that's cool. That's all right, because over the weekend, I had a little bit of a brainstorm. All my problems are over, but yours have only begun. So what I've decided to do is lean harder towards my writing background. I'm gonna open up the Ken LaSalle vaults, as it will, and I want to talk to you more about writing. And this is going to become more of a writer's vlog during this time, because that's who I am. I mean, dude, I'm a writer. It's not just a job, you know. I look at the world differently. I look at the world in terms of stories, conflicts, resolutions. I see books out there. I see I see books out there and in my life, and so it's all about stories. And I want to tell you about a few of mine. How's that for a segue? Segue master. By the way, before I do, I want to clear the air on one other part of what's been going on here. And that's these notes. These notes. You've seen them on the screen. I'm sure you have. Ego dystonic means that I am of two minds, and that works out really well for me, because when I go into edits, I often think of myself as writer Ken, actor Ken, editor Ken, producer Ken. I don these roles depending on what I'm doing. And because I don these roles, it's like a different person steps in. So when later today I am in my studio and I'm adding these notes, God knows what I'm saying, because oftentimes I'll just catch something I said as I'm listening to it, as I'm editing it, and then I think, well, clearly I can't let that stand. So, yeah, I know all about it. It's me. And it's just my little way of getting the last word in. God knows I got to do that. So that's a little bit more of dat for Jewel. So what's going to be happening is in just a few minutes, is I'm going to be reading to you. It's something I've never done in my life. I've never sat in front of a camera, picked up a book, and started reading. And worse than that, they're my books, and I may have problems with some of the stuff in there. A lot of the books are over a decade old. You change a lot in a decade, and even more in greater lengths of time, as you'll soon see. So I've never done this, so I don't know how I'm going to come across. I don't know if I can even read, having never done this. Well, you know, high school, right? Sitting in the class, you got to read, read from page 79, and you sit down, President Andrew Jackson crossed the Delaware. I don't know. Anyway, but I haven't done it since. It's gonna be messy. It's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be me reading to you, just the two of us sitting here, and my viewership is showing that to be pretty accurate. So that's going to be coming up soon. But I want you to know that I took a very informal poll. Basically asked a few people. And I have been told that while some people would like the idea of me reading, others just want me to keep doing this, want me to keep talking to you. So I don't want to exclude anyone. And also, I'm still not working. I'm pretty bored. So trust me, I can do more than one of these. So I'm gonna talk here, and then I'm gonna skip over to the next segment, which will be in a different video. And each segment will be a chapter. So it will be titled, the book's title. It'll probably be something along the lines of Ken LaSalle reads the book's title, and then chapter whatever. And my plan, since these are old and since this is me, is to comment on anything I see in the book that either I don't agree with or do agree with, or just feel the need to comment. So that's going to be in there a bit. Consider it the director's commentary on the book. So what I did was I went through my library of something like 30 books. That still seems impossible to me, but apparently I'm told that that is correct. I went through my library and I decided to pull out only nonfiction titles. And the reason for that is really simple. Nonfiction is me talking to you. That's the best description of nonfiction I can give you. Me telling you about something that I know, okay? Something that's factual. Whoa, don't fall. I'm holding a whole stack of books. Something that's factual, but also something that's a narrative, because, sorry, I'm always fucking with my hair, because the narrative structure is kind of what I'm into, but there are also essays and so forth. We'll get into that. This show here is going to be me telling you all about this plan, as far as I know. I may tell you other things. I don't know. I have the window open here because it's been raining intermittently, and I am a big fan of raining intermittently. I wish it would happen all the time. Anyway, so here's what I'm going to do. I am not setting the A word. Alexa. I'm not setting her to, there we go, to do anything. I'm not setting that timer because I'm going to be reading for a while. So we've gone old school. I've got a kitchen timer to tell me how long I've been at this. So I'm going to put this, sorry about the nudge. I'm going to put that on the box that my camera is sitting on. Everything here is as high tech as you can get. So that's going to tell me how long I'm going, and I figure I want to read about a half hour or so a day, maybe a little longer if I'm really into it, but I know me, and I need timers. Like I'm the kind of person who needs deadlines and timers and anything as a reminder, because I just sadly need them. So I've got a stack of books, and what I thought I would do is I would go through these books and tell you about the books that I'm going to read from to you. Give you some idea of what we're in for in the coming weeks. And again, it will be over on the videos for the books, but who am I to deprive you of something this boring? So I'm going to go backwards through the books one at a time. I don't even know how the camera's set up, if the book is in the shot, but now it is. So the last book I'm going to read to you from is my book, Illumination, which is a book about finding enlightenment, but not a book about holding on to, maintaining, living in a state of enlightenment. That's a big difference. And I don't want anyone to think that, Ken has all the answers. I have some of the answers, a few of the answers, but not all the answers. One thing about the way my brain works is I'm always posing questions, and I'm always looking for answers. And this is where the nonfiction books come from. I will be returning to nonfiction at some point. I have every intention to develop my ideas in Illumination and my ideas in dynamic pluralism even further. I think that they are all related. I think that the words that I can't find are a pain in the ass. I think the connection, thank you, the connection between enlightenment, ethics, and success, which we'll get to, is real and profound. And I know that there's a whole lot more work to do. By the way, look at this cover. On the ebook version, you don't see this, but then you get into the paperback version, and you see a little bit of the white outline on the faces. I basically I worked so hard to get this face just right, to get the scales to balance at the eyes, to get the everything just right. Um, it's a big book. This is dynamic pluralism, meaning so we'll get into some of that later on. Next, putting that down over there. The next book, you may have seen when I pulled it up last time. The next one is called The Rule Book. This is an easy one. This is 3 dozen essays on how the world works. And that's all it is, 3 dozen essays. We'll read a few of them. We'll sit down and hopefully enjoy them. We will see. Now, those were all the philosophy and idea, well, not all of them, but now, I'm so good at this. Now we're going to get into the more autobiographical books, and there are 4 of them, and the last one that we'll get to is a book called False Starts. Well, the subtitle says it all. Mistakes and missteps growing up in the 70s. It's all about growing up in the 70s. It's all about my shitty childhood that I had so much fun hating every moment of. It's all about my childhood, and I loved writing it because I wrote it at a moment. Wrote it around my 50th birthday, about 5 years ago, and about 2015. It was that moment when I realized, okay, you're not having kids. So, okay, I had a box. I had a crate. I had a packing crate full of memorabilia from my childhood, and as I grew up, I thought I will share these with my children when I get older. However, so I wrote a book. So there's that one, and then now we get to what I think of as my autobiographical trilogy. I think of it that way because each book was written 2 years apart from the last, and I think they tie together in that way. So if it was me, I'd say you should read all these 3 together. All of these books are, God, I can't talk. I'm going to drink more coffee. How much of this are you going to leave in? All of these books are available on Amazon, iTunes, Barnes & Noble, wherever you get books online. Audible, of course. They are available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook. So you can listen to me read them, and you can listen to me read the excerpts of a few of them as well. So the third book in the trilogy, I'm counting backwards, so I'm confused. The third book in the trilogy is a book called The Day We Said Goodbye. It is a meditation on acceptance. And you'll notice on the cover, or maybe you won't, but each of the pictures, it's a series of boxes of pictures. Each one is a picture of my father. And this is a book about my father's death, about my schizophrenia, about my wedding, and about the day we said goodbye, when all of my family got together and split into a million pieces. So it's hard for me but I have a very emotional attachment to that book. You might say I have even more of an emotional attachment to the second book, Climbing Maya, an exploration into success. I wrote this book because, now the last book I wrote in 2008, around the time that my father died. I wrote this book in 2006. And I wrote it at a time in my life when I really wanted to know, having not succeeded, I realized that we're always told to chase success, but never told what that is. What is success? What are we chasing? There's a million different definitions, and I wanted to figure out what it meant. I was at a time in my life when I had just married, and everything was falling apart. I was out of work. My best friend was dealing with alcoholism. Another very good friend of mine his wife was dying. It was a tough time in my life, and I got to tell you, this font's horrible on this cover, isn't it? Isn't that terrible? This could be much bigger. The name could be bigger. It could be like that big. We just call it Ken LaSalle. Anyway, I do like the mountain picture though. I dig it. I think it's very emblematic, very evocative. So that's Climbing Maya. But the first book I will read to you from is a book called A Grand Canyon. One man's journey through depression. Through it, out its ass, the whole works. Now, this book, there's a whole story behind why I wrote this book, and it takes me through my first marriage and into my second. And after my divorce, I really wanted to kill myself, and found out that I'm not very good at it. But, practice, right? Practice makes perfect. You never know. Keep trying. Don't be a quitter. Unless you're an acquitter. And then you would be someone who acquits. Anyway, I'm going to stop. And we're way over 10 minutes. I can't believe it. I hope you have been dealing well with all the corona nonsense, and I hope you have been staying safe. I hope you've been staying indoors. And I know I got to get out now and then because I'm, crazy. But I hope, stay in, stay safe. I don't know. It's going to get worse. It's been getting worse. They say that the end of April is when it's supposed to peak in California, and it looks like that may be a similar situation in New York. I don't think anybody's going to peak before then. So we've got some time. We have weeks. I got to tell you, for the first time in 3 weeks, though, I feel hope, and only because now I'm reading like the idea that, hey Ken, why don't you read your books? Like that one simple idea was enough to kind of wake up a little bit of my spirit, because at least now I'm doing something. So I hope you join me on the next video where I pick up a Grand Canyon and I read you a little bit of this motherfucker. It starts with suicide and gets even better from there. So, if I don't see you on the other side of this, I'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself, be kind to others, and let's make this world a better place. And there you have it. You've just survived another Ken LaSalle video. For more information about new releases, projects in the works, or even stuff from the archives, head on down to kenlasalle.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and all around social media. just as long as it's called Facebook or Twitter. Thanks for your support, as always. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll be back soon with more nonsense.